Spirituality is a topic today. Know what your spirituality is. I'm sure everybody's got something in mind, whether you're Buddhist, Catholic, Christian, any type of religion, atheist, it don't matter. This goes for all religion people or spirituality people, however you want to present that word to yourself. Spirituality. What is the meaning of spirituality to yourself? It's very important. It's something that a lot of people don't think about. Why do they not think about it? They don't think about it because when they're on their down days, then they end up going to church, right? Or they'll end up doing what they do in life when it comes to spirituality. Spirituality. Know what it is before it's claimed. Know what you're dealing with. Of course, this is going to be my opinion, but if it makes sense, it's making sense, right? And what do cents make? They put together dollars. So, spirituality. I'll tell you right now, spirituality is about self-improvement. How can this be proven? Why do you have spirituality anyways? Why do you go to church? Why do you meditate? Why do you find sources and ways to better yourself? Whether it's crystal, sage, whether it's a Bible, whether it's a cross on your neck. It doesn't matter what it is. There are all types of things in this world that evolve around spirituality. Know what it is before you gamble your spirituality. Spirituality, self-improvement, self-work, not to accept, but to improve. To accept why your spirituality is in effect. Bettering ourselves, allowing ourselves to change the ways that made us end up in our spirituality setting. What does that mean? Why do you go to church? I will use more of church as an example than other type of spiritualities. But there are all type of cultures and there are all type of spiritualities. They all have the same view on it. It is to better ourselves, to become better, to become a lot more understanding of our life, why the wrongdoings allowed us to end up in this situation in the first place. Our spirituality is our behavior. Our behavior includes ourselves. Ourselves include what we need to improve and what we are comfortable with allowing ourselves to understand that the improvement was already there. Our behavior is a big issue. What is your spirituality and why are you going to church? Why do you buy a cross for your neck? Why do you buy those earrings with a cross on it? Why do you pick up a Bible? Why do you have a rosary? Why do you pray? There's a reason. Understand the reason. Because those are the things that you're trying to overcome in life. To overcome those things in life, people go to church. Or wherever their religion is. Whether it's a building or a church or whatever they call their facility. And so when others go to these facilities or churches, They are trying to better themselves, getting out of the habits that allowed them to end up in the facility anyways, right? So, if others go to church because their week is bad, what affected that week? What was the effect of that week? What allowed you to feel shameful? What allowed you to feel bad? What allowed you to mark yourself with the behavior of a certain feeling? Because the way we feel makes us do things. Spirituality, definitely our behavior, because our behavior gets us there. Now, what religion and what spirituality of comfortability a person chooses, that's a whole nother thing. That's comfortability. Now, to allow yourselves to understand this properly, if you can choose a comfortability of a religion setting, then you can choose the comfortability in your life. The comfortability in your life is also having to do with the behaviors that allow you to feel comfortable in the first place. So if you feel comfortable with the behaviors that you are allowing yourself to endure or allow yourselves to participate in, then your behaviors alone are in a comfortable setting. Knowing right from wrong is a whole nother thing as well. If you know you're doing right and you know it's not wrong, then that is great for you. If you know your intentions are wrong, but you can make up an excuse to allow them to be right, then there's something a little sketchy there. So, our comfortable setting, is it so comfortable? Is it as comfortable as choosing a religion to allow ourselves self-improvement? What got you in that church in the first place? Because that would be the things that you once thought were comfortable, but made you feel a little uncomfortable doing. These behaviors travel a long way in our life. What we do and what we allow ourselves to do also come with a behavioral effect of depression, sadness, not able to forget it, not able to allow it to pass in our lives, not being able to just write it off as an experience. They stick with us for a reason, but your subconscious knows that it's not the best thing for you. Therefore, a person finds a way to allow themselves some type of answers, right? Some type of praying for help and all that stuff, which allows you to end up in a church or some type of facility that allows self-healment, and you get around other people and it makes you feel better because they're different from the people that you are used to hanging out with, or a different circle of friends, or any of those things. That is called getting rid of toxicity. Getting rid of the toxicity in your life is getting rid of the people that have the toxic behaviors. They are the behaviors that are no good. They put you in a mindset of doing things wrongful. When you notice the things in your life are becoming wrongful, then at that level of understanding, that is when a person has the choice to not allow those behaviors to affect them. Know your honesty. Know what you're changing in your life. Know the difference from an I can do this and the difference between I cannot allow this. Because if you cannot allow this, then you're disregarding the I can. Because if you're not allowing, then something's in your life that is causing you to be triggered to the effect of questioning yourself. So know that you can. You can self-improve. You can better yourself. You can allow yourself to think different. You most definitely can allow yourself to become different. Thinking different is thinking positive. Thinking positive is not blaming. To blame other people is looking for an excuse. To look for an excuse is basically to trick yourself, to give yourself a different opportunity, to have a reason to keep yourself in a downfolded position that might not be suitable for you. When a person talks to you, are you actually listening to them or are you judging them? Are you listening to the example they are saying or the analogy behind their conversation, or are you already labeling it? Understand yourself before you can understand another. Question yourself. But then again, if you're questioning yourself, then you're not allowing yourself to the proper knowing that what you have in your life is actually what you want. So, spirituality. Spirituality is about getting rid of your limited beliefs. What once was believed is once not anymore. Why is this so? For the same reason that we were all raised in a certain type of area. Depending on the area is dependent on how we comprehended things. As I speak of other people and I tell them, you can do this, a different area of living might be more comprehensible to y'all can do this. You got this. So depending on the area of your limited belief, whether it's a language, a behavior, a money issue, job issue, living arrangement issue, spirituality issue, belief issue, whatever it is, everything is always questioned. To be able to question it is actually a good thing because you know something else is out there. Right? So if you're questioning something and you're unsure, it's like you need to educate yourself. Getting your feet wet on the experience, that's a whole nother thing. If you've experienced it and the water's cold, then you know not to jump in. If the water's dirty, you know not to jump in. If the water's comfortable, then hey, enjoy the water. Get afloat so you don't drown. So, comfortability. Know your comfortability. What is comfortability? Is it just being comfortable because you're alone? Is it comfortable because another person's helping you? Or are you actually experiencing the comfortability of your vital signs? Because your vital signs are the most important thing in life. Are you anxious-free? Are you worry-free? Are you anxiety-free? Are you headache-free? Are you relaxful? Are you content? Are you all of these things? Because that's your proper comfortability. Now, know when you're in the middle of a crossroad. Because you may be comfortable with one person, but you may not be comfortable with the other person. Know what the other person is. If your thought allows your vital signs to increase into an unhealthy level, then know that your thought was uncomfortable. So you might be in the proper setting with a person and the comfortability's there, but when you think of the wrongdoing, it could allow your vital signs to increase. So these are things that you need to understand, because there's that internal itch that we all have. Make sure your internal itch is comfortable with the person that's in your life, because you can experience that itch comfortably, or it can be very uncomfortable, knowing that you have to create a whole nother world to allow yourself to itch that area of wanting, which means that your desires are different from your living arrangements, your lifestyle. These are things that put us into a setback of not knowing ourselves, which is what spirituality is about, is understanding ourselves, getting rid of the limited beliefs. Beliefs are very tricky. It's all questionable. What isn't questionable? 2 plus 2. It's 4. No need to question it. It's not a limited belief. It's a knowing. Everything else is questionable if we don't know. What we don't know is questionable. If you think you have a limited belief, then question your beliefs. If you know your beliefs and why, without a question or a smart, comment behind it, then that's great. But if you're thinking of your beliefs and you recognize a question, or you recognize something that's like a smart comment or whatever, then that's a limited belief, what you just questioned, because you do not know your own belief. Now, if you have to say, I think, then it's a limited belief. If you have to say, I think so, it's a limited belief. Even if you have to say, I believe so, it is a limited belief. I believe I am talking to this podcast that other people will get helped and receive the proper guidance. Okay? That is still questioned, because will they understand this guidance? But I know I'm doing the right thing. Okay? That's kind of the difference. Meaning, my belief is that I'm doing the right thing. By speaking, maybe it will help another person. So, spirituality, once again, it has nothing to do with church. It has nothing to do with the religion. It has to do with bettering ourselves. Everybody ends up in church for a reason. What is the reason? Church is a gateway. What I mean by a gateway is, it is something holding you back. Gates close. Gates open. Gates you need to get through. And church is there to allow us to get through these obstacle courses that are most likely a behavior issue. And that's that. It is a gateway to overcome something in our life. And so spirituality is supposed to get you through all this stuff. What do? Self-improvement. What works? That's why there's a $50 billion industry on products to buy. Symbolics, it's a reminder. A cross around the neck, it's a reminder. A Bible, you're learning. Jewelry, that has to do with symbolic religion pieces, it's a reminder. Anything to have to do with a reminder of your own spirituality, it is a reminder to allow yourself to question yourself. Are you following what you chose to allow yourself to change. Right? So when you think of a medallion or a cross around your neck, or you're looking at that charm bracelet, that is for you to understand why you bought that in the first place. Meaning it is going to bring you back to what you chose to help you improve yourself. Correct? This is what they would call finding ourselves. Yet, if you're in a church, you haven't found yourself yet. But yet the church is doing good because it's helping you self-improve. What are you finding and how are you finding yourself? It's not that you're looking for yourself or you're finding yourself. You're finding a solution to be able to become the self that you want. Not as a person, but as a behavior, because after you're able to accomplish the behavior factor behind things, then you can honestly compliment yourself properly with no cruel intention or no smarty comments or no negativity towards commenting on what you can do and how you look and how you dress and how you act and so forth. Right? So spirituality is a big issue because you would have never thought that it had to do with ourselves as individual people, as ourselves. Now, other people have affected our behavior, but we can't blame them. We can only allow ourselves to understand how that actually happened in the first place, as it has been going on for thousands of years, which is still part of a limited belief system. It's just like if you were taught about George Washington in school, well, that's a limited belief because they taught us about him. Had we actually got to know George Washington, we might have thought different. But since we're not evolved around that age, or we didn't live that area, that time, it's like, well, we actually know nothing about George Washington. We only know what they taught us, right? Which is a major limited belief. It's like, yeah, they wore wigs and all that, but did they really? Maybe it was just because, cover up a bald issue or something. I don't know. But I'm just saying, it was taught to us. We actually know nothing about George Washington. It's just a story. Is it important? I guess it's important to know how history evolved. But did they really teach us properly? And what lessons did we get out of knowing George Washington? Most people would say a dollar bill, which would be the wrong lesson. But plain and simple, it's a limited belief. Now, understanding limited beliefs is to understand that we allowed ourselves these ways that we think about ourselves. If we called ourselves stupid for 20 years, then we're going to allow ourselves to think we're actually stupid, and it gives us an excuse. So when somebody asks you, how can I help you? Then most likely you're going to draw back to, well, I'm kind of stupid on figuring this out, but it makes you feel comfortable, right? But that's not how it's supposed to be. You're not supposed to say, well, I'm stupid, I can't figure this out, can you help? No. A better answer would be like, hey, I don't understand this, can you please explain a little bit, thoroughly? If anybody has a problem with that, it's like, well, why are you in a position of needing to learn in the first place? So you're completely disregarding that you're either training, or you're new at a job, or you're educating yourself, or you're teaching yourself something, or you're in a learning process. So basically, you don't want to call yourself stupid or make up an excuse that's going to make you feel comfortable, because that's going to be a limited belief. Okay? So simple little words like, hey, I don't understand this, will get you to be able to allow yourself the proper teaching from the person so they could break it on down in segments and allow yourself to learn even better. So, religion factors are interesting because nobody really educates themselves properly on the religion itself. And if you do, that's great. But the whole matter of spirituality literally is self-improvement. Now, it's great to understand everybody's story, the saint's story, how, Jesus overcame this, why Jesus was crucified, all that stuff. But to be able to properly understand it in the way of knowing is very complicated. Why is it complicated? Because it happened naturally. There is not an education in the world that can get you through the process of understanding any type of religion. Why? Because you gotta die first. And what do I mean by dying first? Well, your emotions. Your emotions had to be done. You would have had to be put through the most horrible, tremendous, emotional roller coaster ride of your life. Now, what you do about that emotional roller coaster ride is going to set you in the right direction. If you do something proper about it, then you're going to allow yourself to learn a whole lot. Why? Because you did it in a proper setting. You did it in a proper understanding. You did it without blaming. You did it being humble. You did it being kind. Even though somebody kicked you while you're down, you were able to get right back up and hold no blame to the person that kicked you while you were down. Why? Because love. The love for something allowed you to get back up and give it another go. But you approached it differently, which allowed you to learn something that you didn't before. And this is where new life takes place, a new beginning. Why? Because nothing worked for you in the first place. To be able to hit rock bottom and overcome every emotional roller coaster ride and do something different is the first allowment of learning. Meaning you're teaching yourself something while you're learning because you're doing something different. And if it still doesn't work, don't worry, because you're going to learn something. And you're going to learn something wiseful. And you're going to learn something that not many people learn in this world. You are going to learn something only that 5% of this world learns. And it is going to be the most interesting and the most exhilarating experience that can ever be so wonderful. Why? Because you're going to learn about life. And you're going to learn about the things that you always wondered. What else is there to life? It's like that saying, you live, let go, and live again. Renewing yourself, rebirthing yourself. The Good Die Young. It's a really good song. It's a song that I like. Yes, the good die young. Yes, there's a lot of unfortunate accidents. But to know the actual meaning is to know that every single emotion, every single behavior, every single action, every single thought, every single try, every single move you made didn't work. It's like emptying out your pockets, but you actually emptied out your soul. What is the soul? Your behavior. You emptied out your soul and it didn't work. Therefore, nothing worked. So it's almost like you died. Like you had that rock bottom experience. whatever was a depressional thought, whatever was I can't do this anymore, you were able to look at them in the mirror and say, well, I know I can't do this anymore, but I'm still doing. Perhaps there's something else to do. What didn't work, there's got to be another way. To allow yourself another way for both yourself and whatever didn't work for you. So it's having to change two settings in your life. But for everything in your mentality to not work and hitting rock bottom, along with whatever behaviors that accompanied you to deal with these depressional behaviors or thoughts or whatever it was, nothing worked. It's like starting over from zero, from the beginning again. It's like being an adult about to experience and learn new things as if a child would. Which means it's a new beginning. And that's what they kind of call when they say, you die. You die inside. And you get to relive. It's a second chance at living. It's what they would naturally call, or what they would pretty much call, rebirthing yourself. So basically, a spiritual setting or a spiritual knowing is dealing with yourself. Like, know why you're in church. Because it's about changing your behaviors. Yes, it gives you other ways. Yes, it gives you enlightenment. Yes, it allows you to feel good. Yes, you can surround yourself with different people. Yes, you can overcome depression. Yes, you can find all the positives of there. But know that when you're expressing or when you're in church, it's like, know what you're getting out of it. Because most of all, we're supposed to be improving ourselves, which means we're going to have to admit to ourselves our wrongdoings. But while we're doing that, why not admit to yourself how things could be different? How a change can be made? How to overcome these wrongdoings? Understand your happiness. Understand what's not making you happy. Understand how you can be happy. Understand it all. Because at the end of the day, spirituality is a behavior. And no matter what behavior you have, that's going to be your spirituality. Why? Because it becomes a symbolic part of you. This is why we buy things we like. This is why we buy jewelry we like, clothes we like. Clothes with words and pictures that express. We're able to express ourselves with the very own clothing that we buy. So know what spirituality is. So is spirituality an expression, or is it supposed to be a belief? These are all the things you need to question yourself. Because at the end of the day, it's about getting rid of the limited beliefs and understanding what's real. Understanding that what we all did once believe in may be half and half. Half true, half false. Are we paying attention to the proper understandings of the analogy that's given to us in this world? Are we actually understanding everything that we're being taught? Do we actually know the duality of life? Do we actually know the duality of our emotions? It's just like English class, right? The words of duality. One word that means two things. Two things that may mean one word. Two behaviors that may mean one person. One person that may mean two behaviors. However it's understood. However it's effective. So spirituality, think about this. Next time you're at church, why are we sitting in those places in the first place? Make sure it's the proper thing, proper intention. Make sure it's proper for you. Make sure you're getting the proper treatment from it. Because it's very important. There's always a good and bad in everything. Eventually, we all may or may not understand this. But for the ones that don't understand this, hopefully it can be understood, so you can allow yourself to better your life. And for the ones that do understand this, hopefully it betters your life even more. Because we all deserve to be happy. And we all deserve to have kindness in our life. Most of all, we all deserve to live properly. And life don't allow us to live properly because of these limited beliefs.